This video is brought to you by Croak Crusader, a series of games being published by Two Left Thumbs, and being developed by Tunaware, a collection of Newgrounds-based developers. These are grapple-based platformers built around high speed, using your tongue for both offense and momentum. You can play Spawn of the Spore Spectre for free now on Steam, and the proper full game Champion of Canada is coming out later this year. I will have links down below to both download and play Spore Spectre and Wishlist Champion of Canada. I'll be using random clips from that series as transitions between the different games I talk about. This is the 10 best games on Newgrounds 2024. Yeah, I'm a little late to get this video out there. I realized I could instead wait and upload it on the 25th anniversary of the Newgrounds automated portal, a revolutionary innovation that allows users to directly submit their own content to the site, to then be judged by their peers. It's the foundation of everything on Newgrounds, and those user ratings are what allowed us to have a ranking of the top 10 games. I actually had to go as deep as 15 submissions, as there's a few non-games in the mix. Like, for example, the BBS Awards 2023, the Newgrounds Wii Art Collab, and the Tank Misadventure 2024. 3 submissions that exemplify the collaborative nature of this site and tight community. That not only are there these initiatives and collabs being organized on the site still to this day, but that there are then submissions built around them that go on to be considered some of the best of the year. It's maybe a little bit self-congratulatory, but with every other website on the internet repeatedly shooting themselves in the foot and becoming worse and worse by the day, I think Newgrounds has earned the right to celebrate themselves a little bit. Other honorable mentions here include Worm Paint. Welcome to Worm Paint, a game where you paint and there's worms, and yeah, you get the idea, just go play it. Just an outstanding little gadget all around. It just would have won the year too easily, so I have to set it aside as its own thing. And the second highest rated game of the year is Doom: The Gallery Experience. This game has the framework and controls of the original Doom, but made as a parody of pretentious art gallery openings. It's well done and a funny experience, and despite it doing exactly what it says it's going to, I felt I would set it aside and leave room for more proper games on the list. In that 10th position, we have something oh so fitting of the legacy of Newgrounds: Kill the Healthcare CEO. This is a perfect tribute to the old school assassin era of Newgrounds. Little widgets that were made in Flash when you were barely capable of making a game, then tying it into a dramatic real-world event. And they included a little mini dress-up game. We're checking off every box of old school Newgrounds here. And I just especially got a chuckle out of the fact that they made the protagonist here Mario. That just is so on the nose and perfect in a multitude of ways. I love it. It's not a spectacular game, but I think it's so fitting for it to have made the list, and I'm glad to see some OG Newgrounds representation here. Number 9, Party Pooper, made with the Game Jam theme, Calm Before the Storm. You are a guest at a party, trying not to shit your pants. Amazingly, this isn't the first game I've ever played with this premise, and the devs that made the other one that immediately comes to mind went on to make Rogue Legacy. So, you know, keep an eye out over here. But a colorful, charming art style really helps this one stand out. They clearly had way too much fun designing these stupid characters and their stereotypical personalities and absurd dialogue that you can tell they just had the most fun possible voice acting as well, and the voices are appreciated. It adds a lot to the game.
Keep digging the way God would want me to be, like the good little Christian boy I am. I'm gonna keep digging this hole for God until I get all the way to heaven and reach the Holy Land.
Chat with the different party members, find out what they want, trade items around, and try to reach the toilet before you inevitably let loose. I was trying to think of a nice, delicate way to put that. If you succeed, the victory screen is you being treated to about 2 straight minutes of grunting.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh my... I can get these pants off, Jesus Christ. Okay.
I feel so accomplished. And sorry to the dude in the basement who I just never helped. I'm sure he'll figure it out on his own. In 8th place, we have Gar Type. Let me just start out by saying Lumpy Touch is fucking insane. Everything they do, art, animation, games, that style shines through and there's just really nothing else like it. Those crunchy, grotesque, horror-like pixels, and I have no idea what the obsession with Garfield is. Why are there so many Garfield-related horror things from Lumpy? This one barely ties into that theme at all, but I do appreciate the minuscule ways that was tied in, like having pasta-based power-ups or threat level Monday, and I will never get over my enjoyment of naming the ace pilot John Starbuckle. That's perfection. I enjoy all that. But this game was so hard. I got my ass kicked over and over and over. I would say I'm not often the best at shmup-style arcadey games, but holy crap, this one just wrecked me. My goal was to finish every game on this list so I could talk about it properly, and I just didn't make it that far in this game. That said, it is well made, and as ridiculous as the premise is, I would still recommend it. And if you somehow haven't come across Lumpy's work in the last few years, you really do need to go down the rabbit hole of all of his animations and everything, because it's a wild ride. Seventh, we have WAP. A small little idle game of Kendrick Lamar endlessly beating the shit out of Drake. It's probably about as basic as it comes, even by clicker game standards. Newgrounds continues to set the bar high for riffs on popular culture. Plus, you can play as Goku and beat up a dream. Why wasn't this the game of the year? Immediately after that, in 6th place, we have another idle clicker game, Scam for Thrills. And interestingly enough, this was the same dev who made Party Pooper. Proceeds had a hell of a year. You were trying to earn money as quickly as possible by running scams at the click of a button in order to pay your rent. This one's a little bit more involved than WAP. Each scam you run raises your sus level, so you need to play mini games as either an alternate way to earn money or to reduce your sus level. These mini games are short, simple, and often pretty funny. My favorites were probably filling out this form saying, "No, I'm not a scammer," and "Yes, of course I paid my taxes," signing off on that. Or when you pull off a corgi heist and you just have to pile all of these onto the back of a truck while they're constantly rolling out. These mini games are a great little way to shake things up from the standard clicker gameplay, and there are actually consequences if you do poorly. So that already kept the gameplay itself fresh, but the experience was made so much more engaging and entertaining by these voicemails that would come through every so often, complaining about a specific scheme you had run.
Hey, was that corgi you sold me actually registered with the International Corgi Foundation? Yeah, I tried entering into a competition, and it failed inspection.
The personality added through these random calls is such a hilarious way to fill in the time when you're otherwise just spam clicking your way to the top. I also just enjoy the double meaning of spam clicking the spam button. That just tickles me. Like any good clicker, there are a few upgrades to help you accumulate money a little faster. It's nothing too complex. It was a perfect little 10-minute time killer and worth a few laughs. We're now entering the top 5, starting with Chefware. As I just established with the previous game, I'm a huge sucker for mini-games, which means I'm an enormous fan of the WarioWare series, and I often enjoy cooking-based games. So 2 seconds in, I knew I was very into this one. I love Retro Crow's art style. It's half classic Flash, half Pizza Tower insanity. It works really well. The mini-games are fun and varied, and kept incredibly simple all through the mouse only. I, of course, especially enjoyed this little Undertale tie-in. But my favorite was probably grating the cheese that rains down on this white collar mouse. In a game like this, I'm a big fan of revisiting a micro game multiple times at a harder difficulty, expanding the original task, or otherwise making it a little harder. That was done really well here. The whole experience is pretty short, yet there's still a decent little difficulty curve in there. And I think the final boss battle here is genuinely quite brilliant, using imagery and mechanics that you learned while playing, now in this new context, where you have to process things super quickly, but you have those past experiences to pull from to react in time. This is probably the first game on the list where I can feel a full game hiding within. Maybe it doesn't need to be a full-on WarioWare-sized title, but I would absolutely pay for a little $5 version of this that was something like 5 times bigger. I know RetroCrow has been making a few devlogs for their newest game, so I'm excited to keep an eye on that and see what they make next. In 4th place, Daymare Cat the 10th Anniversary Edition. This is a simple platforming adventure with a minimalist sketchbook style. Weave between screens, collect items, and unlock new paths. This game is about Cat Yonka, who is not actually who you're playing as. They are the musician behind the song that the game is centered around. As you're collecting these records, you get to hear a piece of it. But the full song plays during the end credits. This comes from Polish dev Mateusz Skotnik, who has over 100 games on Newgrounds dating back to 2006. He also released his first Steam game back in 2021 to very positive reviews, Slice of Sea, claiming in this 10th anniversary submission that Daymare Cat was the foundation for that eventual Steam game. And if anyone's curious, he then took his 10-part Submachine series, ported that over to a non-Flash engine, and added new content to better tie the story together. That launch has been very successful, very well received, and has now paved the way for him to do the same for his Daymare Town series. There were 4 of those, and 3 other Daymare games, one of which was Daymare Cat. But with installations like Daymare Invaders, I doubt all of those will be brought into the Steam release. I got kind of sidetracked on that, because Daymare Cat is a pretty straightforward and small game, as enjoyable as it is. But I think it's really interesting to see the ways that this dev has now evolved their craft, creating both new titles and repurposing some of their successes in the Flash world. So Mateusz is another one I want to keep an eye on. I am, however, going to call him out for releasing this 10th anniversary edition 11.5 years after the original. You can't pull the wool over my eyes. It is a charming little adventure, and if you're going to play it, absolutely this is the one to check out. Just the ability to switch to full screen is huge because the original game's quite tiny. Add in 60 frames per second, improved textures, better hitboxes, and overall this is just the must-play version. Now we're on to the podium. In 3rd place, Frogfall. 1 part precision platformer, 1 part puzzle game. With just over 40 levels, I'm surprised how much joy I got out of Frogfall. The premise is simple, but just a few levels in, I kinda locked in and just couldn't put it down. You can only jump once, and if you touch the floor before touching every fly, you die. Each fly gives you a little bump hop needed to chain together the next. It starts out very simple, just getting the feel of the aerial movement. But the game starts to fold in more and more new mechanics at a rather steady pace, and each one was just as interesting and satisfying to wrangle. I could rarely beat a level on my first try, could usually get it within a couple, and now and again would really need to push things. But it was usually clear what I needed to do, the game felt fair, and it would just come down to my execution. It was fun throughout, but once it introduced the skateboard, all bets were off. Grinding around on these little rails to chain together those hops was just fantastic. I had a ton of fun playing through to the end, and then you unlock the B-sides? Oh boy. This was already a top-tier little platforming puzzler, but it was around this point where the game eclipsed many others that I've seen, and it made sense why this now landed in the top 3 of the year. I cleared the rooftops without much hassle, having the addition of these keyed barriers, but then I got to the B-sides of the swamp, where you had these specialized gates that you could only pass through once before they turn into a wall. I wanted to push myself through to the end, but I was growing concerned that if it got much harder than this, it might end up taking me hours. And I didn't really have a full afternoon to give up to that. So Frogfall got the better of me. In second place, our silver submission, we have Heroes of Pico's School. It's only fitting that Pico gets a bit of representation in the top of the list here. This outstanding Sokoban-style puzzler was submitted for Pico Day 2024, and it kicks off with this super awesome animation that itself felt like it could have been the start of a great standalone animated submission for Pico Day. Looking at the Newgrounds awards for this one, it seems it initially got lost in the event, only earning the daily 5th and no weekly awards, only to then grow in popularity and go on to win Best of the Month. You take turns playing as Pico, Darnell, and Nene, needing to kill the Uber Kids, then ending the heroes on their own specific tiles. The trouble is that the Uber Kids will stab you in melee range, so you often need to push them using something like a desk or otherwise keep your distance. However, each hero you play as has their own ability to help clear the level. Pico is able to shoot in front of him, just so long as you leave a space between yourself and an Uber Kid. Darnell leaves fire one space behind him, having no real offensive abilities and meaning he can never backtrack. While Nene is immune to being killed and can actually revive Uber Kids, needing to push them into one another to do their dirty work for her. The puzzles are fun and mildly challenging to start out, but once you've played as each character and learned how to handle them, this game takes flight when they start comboing the heroes. You now have to be cautious, making sure you don't accidentally shoot Darnell with Pico, or that Darnell doesn't leave behind a fire trail that cuts off a path. But you can also use these abilities in new ways, like pushing an Uber Kid into Darnell's fire, or using a desk to extinguish the fire, or just using Nene as a big meat shield to deflect any incoming bullets. And for the last stretch of levels, when you're pulling all three heroes together, it is no wonder this won Pico Day 2024's best game, and is the second best game of the year. And top of the list, our golden entry came from Madness Day, so another internal Newgrounds celebration, Madness Sierra Nevada. This one takes the Madness universe and blends it with the gameplay of Hotline Miami. Funnily enough, it experienced the exact same surge of popularity post-release that Heroes of Pico's School had. Daily 5th, no weekly, then the best of the month, and winning its specific event. Back in 2016, when I was making Madness Throne with Guy Unger, we were originally going to make a Hotline Madness game. While we went in another direction, it always felt like a perfect blend of IP and gameplay, since both properties have to do with charging your way into a room, splattering brains all over the walls, improvising weapons, hot swapping guns. So it was something I always wanted to see made. And in my mind, that itch got scratched in 2017 with Madness Nevada Hotline. But going back to it now, I realize this game is super slow-paced compared to Hotline Miami, and isn't especially comparable. This new game is way closer to what I had in mind, and it's super polished. Blending together Hotline Miami and Madness works as well as I always hoped it would. This game is hard, fast, and bloody. Toss in a few modifiers, like the chaser that will run you down through a level, or a realism mode, adding proper line-of-sight lighting. And if you've somehow mastered everything, you can switch to the drunken mode, which makes things damn near impossible. I played way too much of this game before realizing there was a dodge roll that probably would have made things a lot easier, but who needs it when you can just camp by a doorway with a katana and slice everyone who bites that bait? It's a fun, very replayable set of levels, but then there is also a level editor, which takes this over the top. From a tight, well-executed game that does a great job of honoring both of its inspirations and elevates it into something that you could potentially play forever. And the soundtrack. How can I not mention the soundtrack in a Madness game? Of course it's a banger, what else did you expect? It comes as no surprise to me that this was the top game of the year, and caps off a wonderfully eclectic selection of games. An old school assassin title, a try not to poop your pants sim, a game that confusingly blends together an IP with a genre that has nothing to do with it, a pop culture clicker game, another silly clicker game with some great internet humor, a WarioWare-like, a remake of a Flash classic, a surprisingly polished platformer, a deep puzzler with iconic characters, games, and a top-to-bottom absolute banger madness tribute. Everything absolutely great about Newgrounds, a collection that does justice to 25 years of automated submissions. I love this site with all my heart, I always will, and I'm hoping to put together a proper tribute video for its 30th anniversary coming up in July. What were some of your favorite games of the year on Newgrounds? Are there some that didn't make that top 10 list? I'd be excited to hear about them. Or which of these most appealed to you? Did you play any of them yourself? How well did you do? Lots of things to talk about. Don't forget to check out Croak Crusader. You can play Spawn of the Spore Spectre entirely for free right now, and be sure to wishlist Champion of Canada before it comes out later this year. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.